Barry Degeest was a thalidomide baby, born with no arms and deformed legs. Today, he's rejoicing, one of 45 remaining thalidomide victims in Australia and New Zealand who will benefit from a new multi-million-dollar payout.
Oh, it was elation. It's a great thing.
After more than 2 years of lobbying by Ken Udale, a father of a thalidomide baby, British company the Diageo Group has agreed to a $50 million payment.
I think it's going to save lives, actually. I think they've just reached the end of their tether. I know of instances where they are literally at their last dollar.
Thalidomide was used to treat morning sickness for pregnant women in the 1950s and early 1960s. It caused severe birth defects. Australia's thalidomide victims received a full and final payment in 1974, but more money is needed because of longer than expected lifespans.
These people had signed away their rights, and it became increasingly clear to me that Diageo were acting out of a sense of corporate social responsibility.
A similar payment for British victims gave Australian and New Zealanders cause for optimism. Barry Degeest already knows what he'll use the money for.
I've got no arms, so I want to get laser treatment on my eyes because I can't wear glasses easily, and that's going to help a lot.
The money will be paid in annual instalments over the next 20 years and will be distributed according to the levels of disability of each person. The first payments will go into bank accounts from the end of this week. Anita Savage, ABC News. 3,000 kilograms of fireworks have been loaded onto barges, the tops of city buildings and the harbour bridge. At a cost of $600,000 for the fireworks alone, organisers are promising the best show yet.
Once you see them, you'll be astounded and go, ha ha.
Isolated showers are forecast every day up until New Year's Eve, but as long as it's not too windy, everything will go according to plan.
And if the wind's blowing in the wrong direction and it's very strong, then we have to take that into consideration whether we go ahead with the fireworks or not.
The 7 barges packed with fireworks will remain here at White Bay until Thursday afternoon. They'll then be towed into various positions along the harbour, ready for the fireworks to start at 9 p.m.
We don't get a real chance to test this in live. It becomes a bit expensive, but we're very confident that it'll come out the way we think it will.
An estimated 1.5 million people are expected to crowd the harbour foreshore to watch the fireworks, many of them tourists. They'll help what the state government is hoping will be a summer recovery in the tourism sector, which has been battered by the economic downturn and swine flu.
We are expecting $1 billion boon for tourism in New South Wales this month over the summer period.
Bookings, particularly over New Year's Eve, etc., are very strong, and with great events that we've got on the calendar now in New South Wales, we're starting to see some real interest in Sydney.
New Year's Eve alone is expected to inject $150 million into the state's economy. Anita Savage, ABC News, Sydney. This is what's being called the miracle calf, weighing in at 116 kilograms.
Nature has given us the most wonderful turnaround in events and the most wonderful surprise.
Elephant keepers found the calf lying in a paddock in the early hours of yesterday morning.
Mind-blowingly enough, the calf raised its head and we were going, it's a live calf, it's a live calf.
It's a little unsteady on its legs, stiffened from its difficult position in utero, and needs some help from zookeepers to stand. They're keeping a round-the-clock vigil.
We're certainly not out of the woods with him, but certainly seeing how he's progressed over the last 24 hours or so definitely gives us a lot of hope that he will progress into a nice healthy calf.
As with the last elephant born at the zoo, officials will be looking to the community to help them come up with ideas for a name. They say something original with a Thai sound would be good. Elephant keepers already have their own ideas.
Mr. Shuffles.
He's
got an old man shuffle going on at the moment.
Something to do with miracle, I think, would have to be the name.
Edward the elephant.
Hard enough naming my own children, let alone an elephant.
Miracle.
Miracle. What is the Thai word for that?
Whatever you want to call it, for the moment this little one is staying in the warmth of the barn, out of public sight for a while yet. Anita Savage, ABC News, Sydney. You can't see it happening, but researchers say this short burst of laser is working to slow vision loss.
We do hope that if we
treat the early stages of macular degeneration, that we will prevent progression, that will prevent vision loss later on. And at the moment, there is no way of doing that.
A pilot study targeting people with early signs of the disease is underway at the Victorian Eye and Ear Hospital.
I was having trouble driving at night. I was having trouble reading in a dim light.
12 months after being treated with the laser, Glenys Mann says the change is noticeable.
I've actually had to get new glasses because my sight has improved, so that's wonderful.
The treatment delivers a nanosecond dose of energy into the eye. Researchers say it targets a very specific area, minimising damage that other lasers can cause. The light dots in this picture are waste deposits in an eye that cause the loss of sight. It's these that the laser targets.
The laser affects cells, a very special class of cells at the back of the eye that release a substance that dissolves the fat deposits that accumulate in those with macular degeneration.
The treatment takes about 10 minutes and only needs to be done once. Patients say it's painless.
In almost everybody, there has been some evidence of improvement, either in these little waste deposits going away, not only in the eye that's been treated, but in the other eye as well.
Experts caution more research is needed.
It is early days, but we've really got to take this as symbolic of the importance of investing in research.
While the signs of slowing the disease are promising, researchers say it's too early to tell whether the treatment will stop people eventually going blind. Anita Savage, ABC News. Mitochondrial disorder is a genetic disease that robs the body of energy. Karen Crawley unknowingly passed it on to her children.
I was devastated. The mind's going to speech, she's slurry, she's going blind, she's going deaf. Physically, she's going, mentally, she's going.
British scientists believe they've developed a way to stop the disorder being passed on to unborn children. The procedure concentrates on the mitochondria, the structures that power human cells. They're passed on through the woman's egg. This research used newly fertilised eggs donated after IVF. The nuclei of the sperm and egg contain all the crucial genes from both parents. These were removed, leaving the damaged mitochondria behind. The nuclei was then transferred to another woman's egg, which had its own mitochondria.
All we're doing is changing over the power supply. All the key information that makes a person or a baby is going to be there.
But things could get complicated.
They would have a mum and dad, which would be the normal situation from when an egg is fertilised, but they would also have another mitochondrial DNA mum.
About 1 in 250 Australians carry the mitochondria disorder.
If I could have another child where I knew the child was getting normal, pretty much near normal mitochondrial DNA, that would be basically unbelievable.
But it could be a while.
I doubt it would be possible to use the technique in Australia for 5 years.
Researchers hope to treat the first couples in Britain in 3 years. Anita Savage, ABC News.
And that was Russian pollster Denis Volkov speaking to Norman Hermont in Moscow.
Now, Australia's oldest and most coveted art award, the Archibald Prize, is going to be awarded later today.
The successful artist will take home $50,000 in prize money. Anita Savage reports.
This morning I'm at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, surrounded by 35 portraits, all finalists for this year's Archibald Prize. They've been selected from a record 849 entries. The subjects include former Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser, former cricketer Max Walker and singer Kate Ceberano. With me this morning is a man who has seen many Archibald Prizes over the years. He is the head packer, Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Nice to have you here. Steve Peters, you have seen many Archibald Prizes over your times.
27 of them.
27 years you've worked here at the Art Gallery. Now, your pick this year has been this one of rock historian Glen A. Baker. Why did you choose this one?
When the work came in, it was a striking big picture of Glen A. Baker. Part of our selection for the packers is the work has to be good, so that rules out quite a few of them. It also has to be a populist figure, so that someone is easily recognisable. I think we all everyone's seen Glen A. Baker and knows, have heard of him. And when the work came in, a few of us said that looks pretty good.
Steve, how does the competition look overall this year?
Looks a fantastic show. So the trustees got a big job ahead of them to pick the winner out of the 35 finalists.
Any idea which one they'll choose?
I can suggest the Glen Baker. It's easy for him.
The Packers' favourite has never won. Why do you think that is?
It's just been an oversight for 19 years.
Just an oversight?
Just an oversight, surely, yeah. We're trying to help them.
The trustees don't really know what they're doing, perhaps?
They do in a certain way, but we try and give them a leg up.
And this is very much what you think the people's choice should be too?
I think so too.
What do the judges look for when they're picking a winner? As you say, you've been here 27 years, you've seen many winners over the years. What do you think they look for?
They just see something that merits in the finished product, I think. That's been, all the winners have been good.
And finally, Steve, any past paintings that have been standout for you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago for us, the winner painter of Women HG. It was a fantastic picture. One of Jimmy Barnes a few years previous to that. Been great.
Steve Peters, thank you very much for your time this morning. So, as we said, the winner will be announced today. What the winner will get is $50,000 in prize money. They will also have the award as part of their record, which is also a good thing to have. The judges will be in here in a matter of minutes, and then we'll know shortly after midday today who that winner is here in Sydney.
Anita Savage reporting there. And Taronga Zoo is set to announce a new name for the Thai elephant that thrilled keepers with its surprise arrival in Sydney.
The nickname Mr. Shuffles, which is what the elephant goes by now, is about to go. But what's going to replace it? For more, Anita Savage joins us now from Taronga Zoo. Anita, good morning. First of all, how's that baby, well, not so baby elephant doing these days?
Oh, he's doing really well, Virginia. He's putting on about 1 kilogram a week. He's walking well. No more Mr. Shuffles, although that's what he is still affectionately known as. He's playing playfully in the water. He loves playing with his little 8-month-old cousin, so he's doing really well. But of course, as you said, he will have a new name from today. Mr. Shuffles, as he is affectionately known, will be no longer. What they're choosing from is a list of 7 Thai names. The most popular name, chosen by the public at least at this stage, is the Thai word for miracle. And that's the word Pathihan. There's also Chok Di, which means very good luck. There's Ming Kwan, which means good internal strength. Nam Chok brings good fortune. Taiwan, boy in heaven. Boon Tung, which is merit led to this life. And Mong Kon, which means auspicious. Now, over the past 2 weeks, the general public have been voting on a name. We will find out that name very shortly.
Is there also one for boy, the doctor's got it wrong?
That would be very appropriate, Virginia.
Yeah, wouldn't it just?
So, as I said, wouldn't it just? And boy, they did get it wrong. But isn't it fantastic that they got it wrong and this little baby was born alive after being in its mother's womb and, as they believed, still and dead for so long. But now he's doing really well. And so what they're going to have this morning is a ceremony. There's going to be a traditional Buddhist Thai ceremony, which is going to welcome this little baby and name him. There is also the Reverend Bill Cruz from the Exodus Foundation going to be doing also something as part of this ceremony. We're not quite sure yet what he is going to be doing, but it's all part of a ceremony to traditionally welcome this little young baby into the elephant fold here at Taronga Zoo.
Anita Savage, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Should be quite a nice ceremony, I'm sure.
The battle of the baby elephants in the zoos in Melbourne and Sydney.
That's right.
Peter Frame has seen a lot in his 10 years as a council ranger.
I've been punched, pushed and kicked, spat on.
And he's not alone. Rangers are reporting attacks on a daily basis.
Stabs to the eye, broken limbs, torn ligaments, a high level of psychological injury.
The first comprehensive survey of parking officers across the state shows about half have been physically abused on the job, while almost all have been verbally abused. And it's getting worse, mostly fuelled by alcohol.
Enough is enough, that these guys are just carrying out their ordinary work and need to be afforded an appropriate level of respect.
We need some sort of protection.
They're calling for training in self-defence and the right to carry capsicum spray and batons, like police officers.
I think it would be a backward step on their behalf. They need to make sure they're not in situations where they can be assaulted. If they are, they need to de-escalate and have training in de-escalation techniques.
One solution councils are considering is a safety in numbers approach, enabling rangers to work in pairs. They're also keen for a public education campaign.
We need to be saying to people, you know, really you need to get your temper under control and not take it out on these poor individuals who are doing a job.
Rangers say they also want greater powers to prosecute their attackers. Despite the increasing violence, very few are leaving the profession, seeing their role as an important part of making a decent civil society. Anita Savage, ABC News, Sydney. It was a quiet departure under the cover of darkness. In the middle of the night, vans carried about 100 prisoners from Cessnock to other jails in and around Sydney.
It was well organised with a group of senior officers that had worked at Cessnock before that know the operations of Cessnock.
But the union representing prison officers says that behind the barbed wire, extreme measures were taken. The prison was put on lockdown, prison guards were locked out and replaced by more senior officers from Sydney, and the correct paperwork for transfers wasn't done.
This was done in the dead of night, and it reminds me of the waterfront dispute in the late 90s, where people came in unannounced in the middle of the night to take people's work away from them.
Well, I just don't accept that. I mean, there's no balaclavas, there's no dogs. It's just an absurd proposition to make that sort of comparison.
The state opposition says privatisation is an embarrassing backflip for the former union boss, now Corrective Services Minister.
This government is a Labor government, are supposed to stick up for the workers, and I'm afraid they're not doing that at all.
The Corrective Services Department says the inmates were removed for their own security because staffing levels are being reduced at the soon-to-be privatised prison.
This is just purely a union-busting exercise due to the failure of management to be able to properly manage their jails.
Another 100 prisoners are due to be relocated from Cessnock Jail in the next few months, halving the number of inmates at the jail before its privatisation. Anita Savage, ABC News, Sydney. Dimming lights brought the cheers of a rock concert, but the teenagers' exuberance was soon sobered.
There is no one that is here that thinks it's funny spending time scraping you off the road.
And this is kind of taking me down a notch.
And it's pretty shocking, how easy it can happen.
While seeing was shocking, hearing from people seriously injured in road accidents really brought the message home.
Now imagine being 20 years old and having to wear a bib. I felt like a baby.
I had over 50 staples in my head.
There are people who went through the trauma and stuff. It's really upsetting.
The statistics are grim. More than a quarter of all deaths on the roads are people aged 17 to 25.
The fact that the young people under 25 are so much more likely to be killed in a crash is something we can never continue to ignore.
You get behind the wheel of a car, you're the driver of that car, you're responsible not only for yourself but for the others in the car.
The most common causes of road crashes and injuries in young people are speeding, drink driving, fatigue and not using seatbelts. But getting the message through can be hard.
People like our day, like our kids our age and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, nothing's going to happen to us.
While young people may still treat it as a game, students who were witnesses to today's events say they will think twice next time they get behind the wheel. Anita Savage, ABC News, Sydney.